We back, baby. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss a thing. You are now tuned in to the system behind the system. Welcome back to the Neo DaVinci Show. And on today's episode, we're going to discuss turning your story into a legacy. I'm bringing on Dr. Smiley, who has been in the business of making connections, fostering relationships, and helping people get their story out through books and other means as well. So buckle up your seatbelts and let's get ready to turn your story into a legacy. Well, so Ken, thanks for jumping on here, but let's start by kind of sharing your story, since that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is turning a story into a legacy. What's your story, man, and how have you been turning that into a legacy?
Well, that is the question. I mean, what is anybody doing that's while they're on this journey of life that's causing a legacy? And I think the best one is being a great father. My dad was a great man and taught me character and how important character is. So I instill that in my son. And I think it's one of the most valuable traits that you walk through life are in doing the right things and learning how to be a better leader and how to make a positive difference in the world. So I'll start off by saying reading. I used to like to read books a lot. Now I like to publish them. And I publish them because I know what a difference it makes when someone shares their story, especially if they have a great story that would inspire people, or they just have a lot here and a lot here that they can download. And, we're talking right now, and there's so many people that will hear us talk. But if you have a marketing system and you download your book and you feed it to however many people you can distribute it to, or you have someone like you or me that says, I love your book, I'm going to send this out to like 25,000 people. There's just an efficiency and a tipping point that is created. So I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I love the word of your project, the Da Vinci.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's so cool because Da Vinci is actually my probably ultimate hero. When I was 6 or 7, I learned about Leonardo da Vinci, and I said, "Man, what a cool cat this guy was." He was a scientist. He was an artist. Well, he was an artist, I think, first, and then a scientist. But he was a thinker, and
Mm-hmm.
he was somebody that I said, "Man, if I could be like him." I mean, he could draw with one hand and write with the other. He was ambidextrous. He was
Multi-talented.
multi-talented. I would say at least I
Love
would
it.
say a genius fits his description. And so I was inspired by what it is to be genius, or what it is to be a human with harnessing all the power that God gives you. And I was born in a family, military family. My dad went in the army. He was the first one to go to college, and within being born in Rhode Island and then being shuttled over to Paris, France, where his first duty assignment was, and then spending almost the entire childhood outside the U.S. I promise you, it
Wow.
gives you a different viewpoint of the world, and it addresses the first thing you said. You said you make friends so easy. You connect so quick. You're a master connector. And I think anybody that learns how much humanity is beautiful and how the human spirit is something that is just a miracle, and that when you treat another human as a gift and you treat them with respect and you treat them with
Mm-hmm.
unconditional love, the gift you get back is brotherhood. You get um you, you get the warm and fuzzies. You get someone that'll stand for you. And so when you see me at the event that I met you, I truly saw your energy. I saw your spirit. I saw the beauty of what you're doing and how much you care about people's health and their well-being. And I just gave that back to you. And I wanted you to know that I saw you. And so here we are. I don't know how many people from ABC have you had on your show, but I'll say that how I show up, I've had some very cool things happen in my life. And it really is about just really loving what you do, loving who you
Mm-hmm.
are being, and loving the time that you have that you're able to be there. There's something called gratitude, and I cannot speak enough about how grateful I am that I wake up and I see my son, or I wake up, I have a house, or I wake up and I count my blessings. So I've written over 60 books, and one of my favorite books is a book called The Pocket Full of Gratitude. And it was
Okay.
just I just took a week to say, can I come up with 100 things that I'm grateful for? And I came up with them pretty effortlessly. And I think that the more gratitude you have, the more you are in tune with why life's a miracle, one. Number two, how happy you get to be, how happy you get to be. Because I mean, people that are miserable and they have everything, you're scratching your head saying, "Are you missing the boat, man? You got everything.
Yeah.
You got everything if you want
Look around
it.
you.
Look around you."
Yeah. I was talking with someone about that the other day. You know, they were telling me, this is someone who I really care about, and they were telling me, man, I'm really going through something right now, you know, and they were giving me all the details, and I was like, look around you though. You know, like the fact that you have to deal with that in and of itself is a blessing.
Right,
There's people who are not even, they don't even have the opportunity to deal with the thing you're dealing with.
right,
You know, there's a room you have to that you have to like clean and manage, and there's people who don't even have a room.
right.
You know, and they would love to clean and manage it, and it really like it shined a light on count your blessings and be grateful for what we do have. Life's never going to be perfect, but we have a lot to be thankful for. So how old is your son right now?
He just turned 13 and he is an author of 14 books. He is currently in the Boy Scouts. He's going through puberty, and I'll tell you, it's a new twist, a new challenge. You think you got it all figured out, and my son's like, I don't know if I want to be an Eagle anymore. And and it's interesting because do you love your son or do you love who you want him to be? And so I'm just sitting back, just saying, how do I support him? How do I let him know I love him?
Hmm.
Because how you are as a parent to a kid defines
Hmm.
how you value them and how much they're going to care later about the journey you gave them because you are in control if you want to be. And so he's a phenomenal piano player right now. And I'll tell you, there were at least a year that he didn't want to practice. I mean, at least maybe 2 years. But his mommy said, "You are practicing." And when she practiced, made him practice, he got better. And did you ever read a book, Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point?
No, but I've heard of it.
It is a book that really explains why phenomenons happen. For instance, your show,
Hmm.
you started this year, if I recall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on this would be episode 16
16.
or
Congratulations.
17. 17.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And by the way, you've already defied a couple of odds. One, you've been consistent. That's admirable. Number two is podcast, not for the most part, but I believe almost for the most part, they do seven or less, and then they say, okay, I did it, I tried. But you know that to have the body you want and to have the health you want, it's a daily activity, it's a habit. And so
You got to keep doing it or it's not going to come. Yeah.
yeah, and the only thing I'll change is you don't got to get doing it to do it. You get to get doing it. Because
There it
if
goes.
you have the equipment and you have, I don't start anything unless I'm going to do it for at least a year. I mean, just minimum a year. It's usually, believe it or not, 2 years. So when I write a book, I say, am I ready to run with this book for 2 years after I drop it? And same with
Hmm.
like your kid. I mean, if you have a son or daughter, you don't birth the baby, whether you're the man or the woman, and say, okay, good to go. Get to go have fun again. And by the way, if you do
True.
that, the product you bring into the world is a confused person, a person who didn't feel potentially wanted, or a person that's not understanding what it is to be loved. And so I think there's a lot to be said for what you're doing with your podcast. Is it's about
Thank you.
caring so much about your message that you'll go the distance. And if no one watches, you'll just continue doing it for you. But then you'll also have people on that can hear your message and see the authenticity of it and see the truth in it. And just all of a sudden, magically, a year from now, it becomes the hot podcast to check out.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the case. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to work
Well,
towards.
I will tell you, I believe it will be for you. I believe it will be. You have the ingredients. You have the ingredients.
Appreciate that. So I gotta say, you know, there's probably nothing better or nothing more legacy leaving than the legacy we instill in our children and in our kids.
Yeah.
So turning your story into a legacy, you are absolutely doing it because your son helps you with, I mean, he has a couple books out, doesn't he?
On July 14th, June 14th is Flag Day, was Flag Day, and his book about America turned #1 on Amazon, and he got an award, I think, 3 years earlier, 4 years earlier from President Biden for, not an award, I'm sorry, a letter just saying how much President Biden
Wow.
appreciated. But with that, he got in the White House, and with that, he got in the International Kidpreneur Program in Canada, and they interviewed him at the Cannes Canadian Film Festival.
Wow.
And these things, I don't think my son even really registers. I mean, think about it. If you were 9 or 10, would you really know what that means?
Right. Yeah.
But later,
Like the magnitude of that.
the later, I think, I think, and I hope that it'll dawn on him how much I loved him and also how much he created, how much he started himself. I'll tell you a short story here. Um, he has written 14 books. Now, that's kind of a wow factor by itself at age 13, or even if you're
For
40 or
sure.
50. But,
I mean, that's one for every year he's alive,
and
right?
that's what he said, by the way, when he was 8 years old, he had written 6 books. And he said at his birthday cake, he said, Daddy, he called me Daddy at that time.
Hmm.
If I write 4 more books in the next 2 years, I'll have 10 books for my 10th birthday. Now, that did like three
Nice.
big things to me. Number
Right.
one, it showed me that he understands the power of what you do every year counts. Like that was a huge one by itself. Number two, which was the big one, it hit me like boom, is how old are you? And how many books have you done? Right. And I
Yeah,
had
for real.
done, I want to say at 2 years that I had, I want to say I was right around 50. So his was 4 books to get done in 2 years. Mine was more like 10. And it was daunting because the most I'd ever written in a year was 4, and it really took a lot out of me. And it might have even been that I needed to do 12. I can't remember exactly. Let's just say it was 48. I needed to do 12. Because I remember it
Hmm.
was like
Hmm.
6. The most I've ever done is like 3 or 4 in a year. It's a lot. Um, Now,
Yeah.
you can do a children's book, honestly. And if you have a great children's book, you can knock a children's book out maybe in a month or two. So it's not that this is crazy hard. It's just it takes some focus. And he had me think about that. But the third thing was that he was actually wrapping his head around that I've mastered and I'm not afraid of it. Like he went from doing no books at age 1 through 5 to doing one
Hmm.
book at age 6. And I think he might have done a second book at the end of age 6, but he started cranking books out. And when
Wow.
he did his 15th book, Neo,
Yeah.
it is, and by the way, if you know a woman named Susie Pruden, I wouldn't expect you to, but she has a company called Itty Bitty Publishing, and she creates these itty bitty books that show your mastery and your expertise to teach people your knowledge, your craft.
Yeah.
And so she said, would Kenny like to write a book for Itty Bitty? And she charges a sizable amount. And I said, I don't know. I'll ask him. And she goes, I want to give this to him as a gift. With what he's done as a young man, I want to give them, and it's
Nice.
about 10K, so you know, it's about 10K that she was giving him. And Kenny was not like jumping for joy or anything, but he says, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I said, well, what would you want to write about? I have an idea for you. And he goes, well, what's the idea? And I said, well, you've written so many children's books. Why don't you teach people how to write them and how to make them successful? And he says, oh, I can
Mm.
do that. I'm not kidding you. Most of the people that are in that program, it takes them weeks to write this book, weeks, because they're trying to harness and download all things. He listened to this instruction for I want to say like 15 minutes. He goes, I got it, Dad. And I go, what do you got? And he says, I got how to write the book. And he went, he says, can I excuse myself and just work on the couch? I'm going to write the book now. And I thought when he says write the book now, like I'm going to start it now. I'll work on it. An
Yeah.
hour later, he came back. He goes, it's finished. Now, just like you're smiling, and I was smiling. I said, oh, that's cute. That's cute. You got your book done in
Yeah.
an hour. Well, the publisher had never seen this done. And so the publisher says, well, let all the other people, and she's got all these adults, your age, my age, mainly closer to my age, say, oh, this is so cute. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what he's got. It was utter silence. They flipped through every page and it was not
It
changeable.
was
It,
it
it
was
was
it was good.
it
Yeah.
was close to perfect. And then she says, would you send that to me, please? And she sent it, and the team looked at it and they all said pretty much the same thing. It's done. And she says, I've never had this happen before. People write the book for a week or two or three or whatever, and they submit it, and there's all these things they need to do. And I think it's the youth.
Wow.
His understanding of it was so quick because he'd done it so many times. I think there's a lot to be said about it. A child as a sponge, and there's a lot to be said. If you teach a child 3 languages or 4 languages when they're 4 or 5, they'll pick it up. Like an adult will be like, this is way too crazy.
Right.
So I think he's that good at formulating and being concise and clear about his thoughts. He can put things together very quickly now.
But how long have you been like publishing and putting books out?
Since 2009. It was I guess the part of the story that we can revisit. My mom got Alzheimer's and dementia, and I got the biggest gift in my life, which I wouldn't have considered the biggest gift at the time, but it was to be a caregiver, to give care to somebody who needs it. And so my dad was taking care of my mom, and I knew it was going to be a lonely road for him to do by himself. And so I joined him and I left my DJ company. I left my DJ world. I
Mm.
left my DJ career. I was doing about 100 events a year and traveling 2 or 3 months out of the year. I mean, I was at the peak of my career, and I had 45
Mhm.
guys working with me, Neo. So it wasn't like I said, "Oh, there's just a couple jobs I'm walking away from." We were doing 1,400 events a year at the time that I left.
Yeah, you were operating.
We
You were
we were
moving.
moving. We were DaVinciing.
You architected a system. Love it. Awesome. So you are actively instilling that legacy into your son right now, and it's showing. I mean, he's cranking out books even faster than you, and like that to me is it's literally the definition of leaving your legacy behind.
Yeah, we'll see. And I don't mean to be. Your point is what I hope it is, but right now I'm telling you, when I hit that little word called puberty, he's gaming. He's
Yeah.
gaming. He's doing. I mean, he's doing some pretty cool stuff. Like he has, I think, 10 or 12 kids paying him to be on Minecraft, where he has, the master account, and he creates the community that they all play in. And it's insane
Yeah.
how big this community is and how much virtual land there is. I mean, they go everywhere, and I guess he gets paid. I want to say something like a couple bucks per person, but it feeds his system to be able to have this enterprise level Minecraft. So in that regard, he's not paying someone else to play Minecraft. He's having all these kids play on his field.
How have you helped people take their story and kind of work it into a book? And while you're helping them publish and put their book out and tell their story through the book.
Well, first of all, I find people like yourself that are extraordinary and that you are going to be that much more powerful by inspiring others to hear your heart and hear your purpose and your story. The reason people buy is not because of they know, like, or trust somebody. It's because they are inspired by somebody. So when
Hmm.
I'm inspired by you, that's one component of why I'll buy from you. The other one is that the world says this is the person to buy from because he's the best, or he's the most
Yeah.
valuable, or it's a great experience, etc. So I do books for people that are doing great things to use the book as a tool or a weapon to be a lead generator to create conversations. So I know that the inspiring story is a given and that it's just whether they're willing to share it or not. But think about this. If you had 4 or 5 people that were fighting for a job that you were giving them,
Hmm.
whatever that job is, let's say it's a roofer, okay? And
Hmm.
one of them has a book and they say, hey, when you hire a roofer, there's some things that if you don't know them, you just wasted $30,000. And I just want to give you this book, and it'll give you some really good. Whether you hire me or not, you'll have a great roof and you'll have your home protected. And you read the book, and the first chapter is the story, and you read this roofer's story, and the reason he became a roofer is because he was lived in Cambodia and it rained on them, and he lost half of the kids and half his brothers and sisters because of dysentery and because the water was leaking. He just committed that I want to have people have safe homes. The other four didn't give you a book. The other four didn't tell you how to buy or why not to buy, and the other four didn't tell you their story. And the chance the roofer that gave you the book getting the job is pretty high because you're moved and you see his purpose and you see his heart and you read his expertise.
Yeah.
And that's the point of a book. Does a book position you to get the story, to get the sale, to show up as the one who gets the gift?
And it sounds like when you hear, that roofer story or that person's story, you resonate with
Hmm.
it and it inspires you, just like you said. It inspires you. And you connect with that person, you understand where they're coming from, and that inspiration can turn to like no trust, right? But I like that you said that because a lot of times you hear people buy from the people they like, know, and trust. And I think you nailed it with no, people buy from those that inspire them. Or when someone else is inspired and they tell you about that person, and then that inspiration carries on, and now you want to do business with them.
Yeah, well, just to nail that point in a little more, you have 5 people in front of you that are bidding for a job that's a roofer. and every single one of them you like. And every one of them you spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes or even a half hour because they try and sell you. They're trying to do their presentations. You get to know them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you trust them because you Google that their
You
company,
see their work.
or you see that they have a nice truck and that they're doing their job. So that's all the same playing field, like, and trust. But the one that brings his heart to it and the one that inspires
There it
steals the
goes.
show. And that's the point of it. I'll tell you a short story that I think really just completely blows this point across is you got a bunch of Boy Scouts, all right? And they're selling popcorn to raise money for the Boy Scouts. I told you my son was a Boy Scout. So one of
Mm-hmm.
the activities he got to do was to sell popcorn to raise money for the Boy Scouts. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
The popcorn bag was $25. Now, a very similar popcorn bag that did not have the Boy Scouts on it, you could buy in the store for $5. Are you with me?
Gotcha.
So
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about not something a little bit more expensive, but like dramatically more expensive. With me? So my son was told, like all the other Boy Scouts, there were 95 in his troop. They said, say, my name is Neo DaVinci, and I am with Pack 874, and we're selling popcorn to help raise money for the Boy Scouts. And that's what they taught them. And when people said, okay, well, great, how much is it? And you say it's $25 a bag, most people would say, tell you what, here's $3 or here's $4, because they're not going to part with the
Mm-hmm.
$25 for a bag of popcorn that is way overpriced. Okay. I told my son to throw that copy out, throw that story out. It's not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That story will get you begging. I said, I want you to use this story. I did some research on the Boy Scouts, and I want you to do the same research with me. I said, did you know that 35% of the people that are in the military academies, whether they're West Point or they're Naval Academy or Air Force, 35% of them were Boy Scouts? 35%. That's high.
Yeah.
And then they became Eagles, and most of the people that are Eagles, they're in our military and first responders. They're just tough. They understand what it is to lead. So I said, Kenny, instead of those 5 lines, use these 5 lines. Say, my name is Kenny Rochon. I'm with Pack 874. Did you know that there are 35% of the people that serve in our military and our first responders were Boy Scouts? In other words, we are actually training young leaders to protect and serve us so we can have
Mm.
our freedom. Would you support the future leaders of our country that keep you safe?
Let me go get $25 for that bag of popcorn, Kenny.
You know what, Neo? I'll tell you, it's funny. We were going through over 1,000 dollars of popcorn a week. I was fronting my credit card
Wow.
like crazy. I said, we are going to have to buy a lot of popcorn because this copy is too good. People didn't say one. They said, go ahead and give me 3 bags. I'm not kidding you. It was outrageous because $75 for freedom
Nice.
is nothing. $75 for popcorn is a lot.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So he was selling
Talk
the
about
fact that, yeah,
inspiration.
isn't that cool? And he was so funny because he'd tweak it a little bit in this and he'd say, Dad, I said I changed a couple words and it's getting better results. I said, okay, that's fine.
Hey, let's do
That's
it.
right. That's really
So everyone has a story. How can they take that story and begin inspiring more people with it?
so. If you're writing your own, and thank you for rephrasing that, it is a tweak of the answer, just like it's a tweak of the question. So I didn't write my memoirs, okay, until I felt I earned the right to do so. And I put my face in the book, and it was my 60th book, my 60th book.
Mm.
So my very first book,
So are you 60? I'm just messing with you.
I'm over 60. I am over 60, that's for sure. My son is just turned 13 though, and he put his face on his book at age 10 with his 10th book.
Wow.
And my point is, if you do if you do an album, which I know is not in your vocabulary as much, you drop a CD, okay, you make
Yeah.
music.
I used to do music. I used to do music back in the
Okay,
day.
so back in the day,
Hmm.
so you can appreciate that if I just start playing piano or a guitar or drums and I just release an album like 6 months later, it could do really poorly and it could actually cause me not to want to pursue any more of my career there.
Gotcha.
So my point in just saying this is I don't want to BS your audience, you, myself, or anybody that everyone has a story. And no matter where you are in your life, yeah, write your book for the people you love. Write your book to practice. Okay, that part I agree with. But if you want to write a story that causes your career or causes your expertise, I would warn you, don't do it before you really can show it that you've accomplished
Mm,
something. And so there's two answers to this. One is write your story
mhm.
because there are people that love you that would like to read your story. I lost my mom to Alzheimer's and I never read her story, never got her story. And yet she was an English reading and a history teacher. And I never knew about her. So I would give anything for that story.
Mm, love it. That's powerful. So, with books, I'm a big reader, and audio or just actual books,
Yep.
right?
Audible's
Audiobooks
awesome.
or all the above. But now with AI kind of summarizing books and it kind of you're reading right through chat and it's almost like you're reading a
Hmm.
book there.
Right.
How do you see books beginning to evolve? And I believe they'll remain important. But from your point of view, how do you see that they will remain important?
Oh, that's easy. So I think more people will read because of AI because it'll allow people to digest it in the way they want to be digesting it. For instance, right now, I would much rather not read a 300-page book, and I'd rather an AI form of it or an audible form of it allows me to digest it in an hour or two. And there's a lot to be said for microlearning right now. I am encouraging people to write books in a microlearning facet that you can turn to a given chapter and get the chapter in 5 minutes and go, wow, that was powerful. So I think our attention
Mm,
spans dictate that the old way of writing books is the old way of enjoying books. So if you want to read Harry Potter and that's what you want to do is digest that way, those books are safe. But if you're looking
mm-hmm.
at books that I think are educational, I think that we need to move into a different way of digesting them. I think your Harry Potter books will always be a book that's digested beautifully audible, turned into a
Yeah,
movie later and read at the speed that the person wants to read it, because that's just enjoying reading.
yeah. And that's a really great answer because that shows that, I mean, Harry Potter is a storybook,
Hmm.
right? And so, like, your story is gonna outlast AI
Right.
and the digital expansion of our world. So your story still matters and still has value and still has content, and that legacy will live on regardless of what AI can do. That's very inspiring in and of itself.
If you had asked me that question 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said this part B to it. This part B is pretty interesting. Is AI. I work now with a company called Momentum Tech, who's merging with Perfect Publishing to make a lot
Hmm.
more books a lot more powerfully. And so this particular AI helps extract the genius of the author writing by asking questions and then curating all this stuff and turn it into a much more powerful book. And let's just say
Wow.
someone's not the best writer in the world, but they're just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Well, this allows someone that is brilliant to actually become a great writer, but learn, when you have this done to you by AI and you read your book, you actually become a better writer as well. It's just going to happen. It's mastery.
So when I first met you, you were connecting with everybody in the room. And I admire the system you have behind that too. You got to teach me it sometime because it's a really good system, and I appreciate a really good system. But you're a master connector. How do you feel that that's helping you get your story out there and inspire other people?
Well, one is if you're connecting with people and they don't know who you are, you're forgotten. So if you're going to connect with somebody, make it meaningful. There's a gentleman named Bob Berg who wrote a book called The Go-Giver. And if you think about connecting is only valuable if you bring value to the connection. So
Mm,
if you recall, we talked about you doing a book. We talked about how we could work together. We talked about how we could make each other better. And those things are real conversations that are not meaningless. Let's just exchange numbers, right? And here we
right.
are years later. I mean, this is now what, 3 years now? Two, three, two.
Yeah.
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 But that's the power of the connection. And so one of the things I'll tell you is in the phone when you and I exchange numbers, if you recall, I took a photo of us together.
Yeah.
If you recall, I asked for your birthday.
Yeah. You still have it
I do. I got to look it up real quick.
somewhere in there?
It's like
Yeah.
August 17th, something like that.
It is, man. Spot
And by the
on.
way, I didn't look it
See,
up yet. I
yeah.
didn't look it up yet.
All right. Nice. Nice. Good
So,
job, man.
so it's like if you want someone to become a stranger, then just change numbers. If you want someone to become a friend, how do you treat someone that you want to become a friend? You treat them like you'd want to be treated. So I
Mhm.
stayed in touch with you. I think you're a cool guy, and you're not doing anything actually that surprises me. I believe that you're going to do great things, and here you are doing this. I think it's a phenomenal podcast, by the way. I saw how you drop it. I see
Appreciate it.
the marketing. I see the design of it. I see the intentionality. There's a lot of thought that goes with your podcast, and that is going to keep your podcast alive until it gets big. And when it gets big, people are going to go back and watch all of it because it's that good of quality.
I'm trying to tell my story and leave a legacy behind. And I value some of the things that we've talked about today in some of the core concepts of how to do that. So making a connection, I feel, with people and building relationships are some of the most important things you can do when it comes to leaving a legacy.
One of my favorite mentors always says, "How can I serve? How can I serve?" And then another mentor of mine, I'll say, "Hey, I need help," and he goes, "I'm here to serve." So I think to really enrich a relationship, serve it. And if you serve it and you're serving it with someone who's a taker, it'll get old and it won't do anything
Hmm.
great. I have a definition that is for the very highest level of relationships, and it's called partnership. And
Hmm.
I mean, I could see you and myself being in a partnership, and that partnership could be a very strong business. It could be, by the way, we're doing a huge event September 30th, and you are going to be one of my biggest.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, and guess what? You know what it's called?
What?
It's called Podcastathon. We're having, and by the way, Podcast Day, International Podcast Day is September 30th. So on my channel, we're going to have 140 people, but you're going to be one of my key people. You're going to be one of my chiefs. You're going to be one of the people that I'm going to have as my friend next to me on the
Cool. I'm
poster
there. Yep.
because you step up.
Let's
You
get
know
it.
what it is to step up. So if you want to serve,
For real, I'm there. Sign me up.
you're signed up. You're signed up
All right.
here. You're signed
Yep.
up here,
Let's go.
and you'll be one of the first people I send. But you're going to be on the poster. Okay.
Cool.
And the poster is going to be you're someone that really makes podcasting fun. You're someone that is a stand for why podcasting needs to happen. You're someone that brings positivity podcasting. So that's September 30th. Going back to your question of, I guess, developing the relationship
Hmm.
is a partnership. And I wrote this definition and it's been published in 3 or 4 books. It's called the perfect partnership. The perfect partnership is when two or more people agree verbally or in writing to compete to unconditionally give more than the other. So,
Mm.
so if I give a lot to you,
That's a gold nugget right
it is a
there.
gold nugget.
Say that again. Say that again.
The perfect partnership is when two or more people agree verbally or in writing to compete to unconditionally give more than the other.
Nice.
And the reason it's verbal, if I tell you my truth and it is the truth, do you need me to write it down?
No.
No.
No, it's truth.
And by the way, on the other hand, if I write it down and it's not true, does it matter if it was written down?
It
No.
doesn't because it's not truth.
So when I speak, it is my truth. And when I speak, I make that truth my accountability to make sure it happens.
Hmm.
And I can always stand with people like you because you care that way. That's your code.
That is, I'm big on relationships, seeing how I can serve people, and it is like it's a virtue at the same time because it's a connection, it's a two-way, thing. You're given, you also need to receive, they're given, they also need to receive, and that's just how it builds and it grows from there. And that's the legacy that I definitely want to leave behind. Maybe that's why we resonated with each other early on and still are connected, man.
Yeah, you're serious about legacy. I will say that you will have great books and you'll have great content because you're always thinking about the end result is what are you leaving behind? That's a very powerful mindset.
And what gets you inspired?
I think gratitude. I think me giving you this card, man. I mean, look at this. I just happen to have a stack of these bad boys here, but
Yeah.
I just found out we're up to 9 million of these cards are in the world right now. I couldn't believe it. When I
He put
first,
out 9 million.
yeah, and this is,
Oh my
downloaded from the
goodness.
site. You can get them for free. You have to pay for shipping, but you get these cards. But when I met the man who gave me this card back in 2015, uh, it was one card, and he gave it to me, and I said, tell me about this. And he told me about it. And I said, I want to make this the most important message in the world. Because my mom, who passed of Alzheimer's, she was the most positive, optimistic, rose-colored glasses. You failed, don't worry about it. Get back up. You can do it. Kind of
Mm,
woman. And she's my cheerleader. I'm telling you, if you don't have someone cheering you on and you have nobody, you might end up throwing your life away. It only takes one
yeah,
person believing in you. I mean, think about this.
for
If no
real.
one believes in your daughter except you, it's enough. And if no one believes
Yes,
in you and it was
she'll
only
do great
me or
things.
vice versa, it's enough because one person is telling you they're a stand for you. I've met people that are extremely dishonest by their own confession. They say, no one
Mm,
ever trusts me. And I decided to
mm.
trust them. And they said, you're the only one that trusts me. And guess what? They never let me down.
Yeah,
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man. That's power. So you're a connector. You're a story publisher, and you're an inspirer. That's a legacy right there, man. I love it.
That's right. That's right.
So, as time goes along, right, what is the number one thing that you want to leave behind when it comes to your legacy?
Well, I heard one of the coolest things you can do with your life, and this is a bit morbid, right? Is that when you die, that you have it over flooding with the amount of people you impacted and that you made such a difference in their life. They were there to celebrate the life you had with them and what you did to make their life better. So it's a bit morbid, but I want my son to be able to see that a man can change the world just like Gandhi did. And I use Gandhi as the name because I live to create peace in the world. I think the smile movement shows that there is, when you smile, when I smiled at you, that was my way of
Hmm.
saying I accept you. I love you. I'll collaborate with you. You're a cool person. There's nothing stopping us from doing a show. There's nothing stopping us from saying, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's work on this idea." So
Right.
I really want to show my son that a man can change the world, and so that's one of my legacies I hope to leave. And I keep doing this because it's not work. It is amazing. You and your audience need to check out Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point, whether you read it or audible it. Tipping Point and Outliers. That book changed my life. And there's a gentleman named Norman. His name is Charlie Tremendous Jones. He says the difference between where you are today and where you'll be 5 years from now are the books you read and the people you meet. And
Mm.
I can tell you over and over again, I can meet a person and they can change my trajectory. I can read a book and same thing. I used to go on trips where I'd go to, I don't know, Asia,
Mhm.
Africa, wherever. And someone would say, "Hey, have you read this book?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Read it, it'll change your life." And sure enough, I read it and I was on vacation. And next thing I know, I'm making $2,000 or $20,000 extra a month because I'm applying principles I learned in a book. Just simple stuff,
Mm.
real simple.
So why do you think it is that, that happens? You get around different people and you read different books and next thing you know, you're doing better in life.
It's because it's a formula, it's a code. And there's a guy, I've heard several guys say this. Success leaves clues. And so success is a formula. I just told you a formula. I don't know if I made it succinct enough, but for conversion to be the highest, you need the highest amount of inspiration and you need the highest amount of social proof. So
Mm.
imagine this. If I sell you, let's go back to that roof just for fun, since that's the topic. Okay. Let's say I'm going to
Hmm.
sell you a roof for $20,000 or 30. Let's go 30,000. I'm going to sell you a roof for 30,000. I talk with you, feel me. I give you a book and I show you all these reviews, and everyone's like, "This guy's the best. This guy's the best." And the other competitors are 25, but one has "Don't go with this person." Another one has no reviews. Okay, another one looks like they
Mm.
hate doing what they do. It's funny. You'll spend the extra 5K on a roof. That's the most expensive out of all of them because you know you're going to get taken care of and you get your value. If I make you a roof for $25,000 and your roof leaks, I got news for you. You just wasted $25,000.
Hmm.
I used to be in the wedding
Hmm.
business. Think about this. You're spending 50, let's say $25,000 in a wedding, and you hire a DJ that's $500 cheaper and they destroy your wedding. You lost everything. You lost the biggest day of your life. You didn't have anybody stay. They all left because they were having the worst time. So
Wow.
when I was a DJ, I was 2,000, 3,000, and sometimes even more than that. And I just told people, I said, how much you spend on this wedding? And they said, 30,000. I said, I'm an insurance policy. If I do your wedding, everyone will stay, everyone will have the best time, and you'll be happy you hired me. If you hire someone else, they may destroy your wedding, and you're going to say, that was the biggest, that was the worst decision of the entire day because it affected the mood and everyone left and we didn't even get to enjoy our day. I closed 85% with that. Remember how we were talking about Boy Scouts with freedom? Right. Okay. Versus selling popcorn for $25. I wasn't selling a DJ service. I was selling the biggest day of your life.
This is a question that I've been wanting to ask you, and we can finish off with this one here. Where did the Mr. Smiley, Dr. Smiley, come from?
So just like anything in life, when you do something, you become known as that. And so I was giving this card out to everybody, and my name is Ken Rochon. I don't even put it down anymore, but my name is Ken Rochon. That's something to remember. I don't know if that rings. Okay. But check this out. I gave this card out to everybody I met. And so I just started being called the Smile Guy or Mr. Smiley. Those are the two. The
Yeah.
Smile Guy or Mr. Smile. And I started getting in events because they're like, oh, yeah, you should have the Smile Guy there, or you should have Mr. Smiley there. So when the pandemic happened, I actually went and got my dissertation done. I went and got my PhD done in philosophy. And I already had my master's in education. I taught physics and chemistry. So it
Nice.
wasn't new to me to do schooling, but I got my doctorate and I said, I want to be Dr. Smiley. I don't want to be Mr. Smiley anymore. So I
Mm.
gave myself that and I got rid of my name, Ken Rochon, in my books. All of my books now say Dr. Smiley or it says Ken Dr. Smiley Rochon. And you would not believe if there's 25 or 30 people on a Zoom call, or there's 25 or 30 people in a room,
Hmm.
my name will be called potentially 3 to 4 and sometimes even 5 times more than everyone's name put together. I've been on a Zoom call where they only said Dr. Smiley 3 times and they didn't even say another name because the name
Mm.
Dr. Smiley actually makes you smile.
Yeah, it does. It sure does. You're good at that too.
Yeah, and so when they smile and I'm smiling, it brings the energy of that conversation, that room up, and so everyone feels happier. So they'll say, "And we got to do this." And what do you think of that, Doctor Smiley? I go, "I love it. I love it." And so all this, the energy is good, and they know they can call me because
Yeah.
I'm not there to do fake comments. I'm there because I'm paying attention. I'm excited about it.
Well, Dr. Smiley, thanks for coming on the show here today
My pleasure,
and
Neo.
putting a smile on all of our faces. It's definitely been a pleasure, and what a legacy, man! What a legacy. Appreciate you having you on here. Where can people follow you, get more of your content, and kind of tune into what you're doing?
Well, they can go to the smilechannel.com and they can also see your profile there because you have a profile and you have all kinds of episodes that are going to be on there. And
Yeah.
then they can find me on Instagram with at Book Dr. Smiley.
So there you have it. Hopefully that put a big smile on your face and inspired you to want to leave a legacy behind of your own. Your story is unique, it's special, and there's somebody out there that's waiting to hear it that you're going to inspire, and it's going to carry on from there. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below or reach out to me at International Da Vinci on all platforms. While you're at it, check us out at DaVinciEngineer.com, and I will see you next week on the Neo Da Vinci Show.